Hello, my name is Corwin Anthony. I'm the Executive Director of Pro Ministries for Athletes in Action. It's an honor for me to speak with you today because of who you are and because of the enormous responsibility you have as coaches. For you are the influencers of the next generation of athletes. And we at AIA desire to come alongside you to help equip you as coaches to be the best at bringing healthy perspectives to the sport you love so dearly, and at maximizing the potential of the athletes under your care. We also recognize that athletes have a strong voice in culture, and regardless of what Charles Barkley proclaimed a few decades ago, athletes still are and always will be role models for the young and the old. We're inspired by the dedication and the work that coaches and athletes put in to achieve success in their sport. We love the stories of men and women who had to overcome unfavorable odds to accomplish their childhood dreams of being a top athlete. It's no wonder that many young people try to emulate these heroes in sport and in life. So what you invest into your athletes has far-reaching implications beyond the athlete themselves. What you invest can dramatically change the trajectory of that young man or woman's whole life, not just their athletic careers. For you are affecting their legacy, and probably the legacy of that athlete's family for generations to come, because you are coach. And in some cases, your influence will be the strongest influence on that young woman or man's entire life. Well, maybe that's not what you signed up for when you became a coach. Maybe you only signed up to teach strategy and techniques, X's and O's, so that you can accumulate as many wins as possible. But the reality is, you are going to impart life lessons, whether you intend to or not. So the question is, what kind of life lessons do you want your athletes to walk away with when they leave your guidance? I'm sure for those of you who were athletes before becoming coaches, I'm not sharing anything you don't already know, but I am just hoping to help someone understand the gravity of their role and responsibility. I am hoping that someone feels the weight of it just a little more. I'm hoping that someone who needs to make a change in how they operate does so, and no longer continues down their journey as coach in a nonchalant way. There is a scripture in the Bible that says, "To whom much is given, much is required." Coaching athletes at any level puts you in the square in the middle of the much is given category. That's why I'd like to talk to you today about the importance of developing the total athlete. The total athlete is one who is developing themselves body, mind, and spirit for the purpose of maximizing their full potential in sport and in life. Too often, athletes and coaches only focus on the physical and the mental aspect of the game. Yet when we ignore the spiritual aspects of the game, of our performance, we shortchange a huge part of the makeup of an individual. Humans, we are three-dimensional. We are body, soul, and spirit. If the spiritual development of an athlete is prohibited or neglected, then you're only partially allowing your athletes to thrive. I don't know about you, but if I'm going into fierce competition, I'd want my athlete to bring every part of him or herself to the court or onto the field. And I would want to maximize all of it to accomplish the task at hand. I mean, doesn't it break your heart when you think of all the gifted and talented athletes whose careers were cut short or never got off the ground because this aspect of who they are was never encouraged, never reinforced, or even accepted in the athletic space? Well, there are probably hundreds, if not thousands, of athletes around the world who are living right now on the edge of derailing their careers. And it may even be that their lives are struggling right now. They're struggling in their lives because they have only focused on the physical and mental part of the game. And they leave themselves spiritually vulnerable when they do that. Back when I was the team chaplain for the Miami Dolphins years ago, I was walking through the locker room after most of the players had gone for the day, when our star player, the team captain, the one who everyone loved, he had all the jokes, all the young players looked up to him. They wanted to be like him. Well, this athlete quietly called me over to sit next to him. And here's what he told me as he spoke quietly so no one could hear. He said, "I'm scared, Corwin. During the off season, I party hard like a rock star, taking drugs and drinking heavily. And the women I'm with, I don't even care anymore what they look like. I'm so addicted to sex, and I'm out of control, and I'm afraid of myself, Corwin." He was very aware that although everything looked great to people on the outside, he was in deep trouble on the inside. His spirit was dying and becoming calloused. Thank God he recognized it and reached out for help. You can't tell me that the state of his soul didn't also affect his performance on the field. There was no way he was free to perform and fully enjoy the opportunity of being a pro athlete. He needed spiritual input. I'm so glad he knew well enough to seek it out. Yes, it may be true. Not all of your athletes will be interested in developing spiritually. And you may not be able to reach all of them with the life principles you might want to impart. But certainly some of them will have their whole lives transformed in a positive way because you cared just as much about their total personhood as you did about their performance. For decades in America, there was a perception that you could not be a fierce competitor and a lover of Jesus at the same time. So athletes who were serious about their faith were looked at very skeptically. Back again when I was serving as a chaplain, someone on their staff decided to go into their scouting archives to get the scoop on the kind of athlete I was coming out of college. Well, this guy, he stumbled upon my scouting report from my senior year at UCLA, and he was shocked by what was written about me 9 years ago by one of their scouts. The report simply read, "In the category of strengths, Corwin has good hands, he's fast, he's athletic. In the category of weaknesses, this scout wrote, can be inconsistent sometimes, and he's very religious." This NFL scout had never even met me. But as he gathered information about me from others, he concluded that my commitment to my spiritual development was a weakness. He concluded that me wanting to be developed spiritually was a detriment to the team rather than an asset. How absolutely wrong he was. This scout did not know that for me, learning to compete spiritually for the glory of God meant that I was to do my best and give my all in everything I do, even when no one was watching, because God was watching all of the time. To me, I was to be the best teammate I could possibly be and help my teammates perform better any way I can because I was called to love and serve my brothers. For me, I was to set aside my personal preferences for the good of the whole and not become a divisive teammate when decisions were made that didn't help my individual statistics because I was called to live sacrificially. I was to be the most focused, most intense, and least distracted player who did everything they could off the field so as to not jeopardize my performance on the field, so we could accomplish our mission as a team together. For me, that's what it meant to bring my spirituality into my profession. Who wouldn't want players like that? The total athlete doesn't allow his motivation to be superficial. I love that about the total athlete. He or she doesn't need the motivation of money or fame or the adoration of fans to give his or her all. The total athlete plays for a higher calling. They heed the commandment that says, whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. Do you fully understand the implications of this? When your athletes figure out that the need to bring all of themselves unto the court, including the spiritual aspect, it means the total athlete did not lose motivation last season in the NBA when the arenas were empty and there were no fans chanting their names or cheering them on. Because a total athlete doesn't just live for the moments of glory, but they thrive in the crucible of the daily grind. Can you imagine the kind of athlete you will have and the kind of culture you might be able to create if your players are just as dedicated and motivated about practice as they are about performing on game day? Wow. Now, I know that sounds pretty far-fetched, but why not figure out how to get your team there by coaching total athletes? Because the total athlete views competition as an opportunity to worship his creator, who gave him the gifts and the talent to excel in his sport. Matthew 6:19 through 21 says, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." Did you catch that? The total athlete who learns and understands this principle brings their heart into the game when they compete for a higher calling than medals, money, and accolades. The total athlete is also like a tree planted by water. One of my favorite verses in the Old Testament is found in Psalms verses 1 through 3. It reads, "Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. For he is like a tree planted by streams of water that yields its fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither. In all that he does, he prospers." Y'all, when I picture a tree planted by a stream, I think first of struggle and then strength. A tree planted near a stream in a desolate land is highly dependent on the continual nourishment that the stream provides. And as the roots of that tree are constantly being nourished by the steady supply of water and the fresh nutrients that the water brings, the roots of that tree have all the resources they need to keep working their way down through the compacted dirt, in and around buried rocks and other plant material, and to spread wide and go deep into the earth. There is a struggle going on in this process, but the progress is inevitable because of the continual nourishment from the stream. And the end result will be roots that have wrapped themselves around all the rocks, penetrating deep into the hard soil and other plant material, turning those same obstacles in the ground into reinforcing objects that provide additional support, creating an almost impenetrable root system of stability, stamina, and strength. So when the heavy storms come and when the heat of drought moves in, that tree still has what it needs to stand firm and keep producing fruit. Stability, stamina, and strength. That's what many will say they needed most in 2020. It may very well be what we need most in 2021 as well. And the total athlete who realizes their need for continual spiritual nourishment will stay close to the stream that provides the living water. Here's what I know to be true. The storms of life will never cease. Emotional famine will occur. In sports, as in life, heartache and heartbreak will happen. Being mistreated and misunderstood is inevitable in every profession. Intense stress and pressure to continually meet expectations and standards that you and others have set, that stress will not go away. Learning to develop oneself spiritually is staying close to the stream. Only then will those obstacles and those challenges we face in life and in sport, only then will they become sources of stamina, strength, and stability for our souls. Well, Tony Dungy's one of my favorite coaches. His favorite verse in the Bible is Matthew 6:26. It reads, "What does it profit a man to gain the whole world yet lose his soul?" In the same way, what good does it do to win in sports but lose in the game of life? When that final buzzer goes off and you and I take our last breath, the only thing that will matter in that moment will be how you and I invested spiritually into every aspect of our lives. So I want to encourage you to be a total coach and coach total athletes. God bless.